Hi everybody, welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada, and you can find me online at stampingwithmelva.com. It's Thursday night and here I am with a technique for you. Now this is pre-recorded because I'm actually off doing a weaving workshop this week, or actually more of a retreat. So my lives are pre-recorded because I didn't want to miss out on doing them for you. So I hope you enjoy this one. This is my mystery challenge, and so I shared the clues earlier today. And what it is I've given you a list of items to choose from, and I've asked you to pick 3 and to make a project. So the items I gave you are green foliage ribbon. I'm trying to read my list. Ribbon, fun fold, embossing, sequence, blending, designer series paper, and thank you. Now, as I look at what I've chosen, I've used a few of them. So I've actually, if you consider Lost Lagoon green, I've used green, and I've got some foliage because the stamp set I've used is, it's got a fern on it. Definitely a fun fold. It's got some sequences, the embellishment. It's definitely got designer series paper, and it's also got a thank you. So when I originally thought about this, I chose fun fold, designer series paper, and thank you. It just so happened that I've got a whole bunch more in it. But so your goal is to pick 3 items from the list and make a project. Don't forget to share your projects on my Facebook group. And every month I do a draw for just for some people who have shared, and I send out some happy mail. So maybe you would be one of those in July. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to just switch over and I'll show you the stamp set I'm going to use, and then we'll get started on the card. So this is the Marvelous Nature stamp set. It's quickly becoming a favorite for me. So I just love, it's really simple. This fern one is absolutely stunning, as are the birds, and then just some really nice simple sentiments for it. It is a rubber stamp, and these images are at 90%, so you can always tell that down here. So the images, the stamped images, if you look at this is the fern. It's actually quite, a bit bigger than what it actually is. Okay, so now this is a fairly easy gatefold card, and it's got a belly band. Belly bands are so easy to make. And so I thought I'd show you this. So I've got a piece of Lost Lagoon that's cut 4 1/4 by 11, and you're going to score this at 2 3/4. Now this I'm going to say to score this at 2 3/4 from both ends. So I've scored it at 2 3/4. You're going to flip it around 180 degrees and score it again at 2 3/4. I just find that easier than figuring out what that second score will be. So that gives you a section in the middle that is 5 1/2, which is your standard card length. So as always, we're going to fold into the mountain or the raised line and give it a good burnish. On this kind of card, where you're folding these 2 pieces in, you will definitely notice the difference if you don't fold into the mountain. You will end up with 2 sections that almost overlap, I find. So by folding into the mountain, I've got 1 piece of grid paper left and it keeps shifting on me. So by folding into the mountain, you don't get an overlap here, which is just kind of nice. Okay, so we've got our card base. Now I've gone ahead and cut designer series paper. This is designer series paper from the Inked Botanicals. It's just so pretty. So it's got, Lost Lagoon. There's some pretty peacock. On the other side of this is crushed curry. But I'm keeping it I'm definitely keeping it monochromatic. So my whole card is in Lost Lagoon and basic white. Okay, so we're going to adhere these pieces. So these are 2 1/2 by 4, and you need 2 pieces. And we're just going to adhere them to the front. You could double mat them if you wanted to. I just thought I'd keep this card fairly simple. Okay, now we're going to create a belly band, but for that belly band, we're going to stamp that fern on the front. So I've got a piece of Lost Lagoon that is cut 3 inches by 3 inches. I didn't use a die for this. I just cut it out with my trimmer. And then a piece of basic white that is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And we're going to stamp the fern. Isn't this pretty? I just love this fern. So we're going to ink up, and we're going to stamp. Now there is just room for this fern on this 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Off. There we go. While we've got our ink out, I'm going to stamp the sentiment, which is, what is the sentiment? The sentiment says, thanks for everything. So there we go. There's my other. So I'm going to test this because, oops, good thing I tested it. I got it upside down. So I've got extra piece of cardstock or basic white here, because if I don't get this straight, I can kind of, there we go. That's much straighter. Okay, that's all my stamping. So we can put that away. Okay, so we've got that done, that away. Okay, so these two pieces, now I'm keeping things fairly flat. I will use dimensionals to attach this to the belly band, but I'm going to keep everything fairly flat. I, on another card, combined this this stamp using with the fern embossing folder. It looked really cool. Okay, so that's basically what this is going to be the front of our card. Now, for a belly band, I typically cut my belly bands 1 inch. In this case, it's 1 inch by 11. It could be 1 1/4, but I thought this one inch was fine. And I always put the seam at the front because I can cover the seam using designer series paper or something like that. So I'm just going to line up my cardstock along a grid line, and then my card base along a grid line, and I'm going to fold these two flaps. I don't score it when I make a belly band. I just fold them. These will not meet up. You have about 1/4 inch in the middle, and that's perfectly fine. The reason I don't score it is because when I fold it, I can gently fold it around and not make sure. I don't want it too tight, because I want whoever gets this card to be able to get it on and off fairly easily. Okay, we're going to hide this seam in the middle, and it's going to be hidden because this is going to go over top. But I'm also going to put some designer series paper. So this is a different pattern in Lost Lagoon, and this is cut 3/4 inch by 5 1/4. Now I'm going to try and not put glue all the way along, because I don't want glue to be in that middle section. So maybe using Stampin' Seal or tear and tape is better than the liquid glue, but I think I've got that kind of space without glue in the right spot, hopefully. So this will glue our belly band together. There we go, like that. And then the liquid glue that I've used just gives me a little bit of time to kind of wiggle it so it's straight in the right place I want it. Okay, there we go, belly band done. And now it's not too tight. Whoever gets the card can put it on and off. Okay, and then this piece, so this will go up around the middle, and this piece is going to adhere to the middle. So the way I put that on is I'm going to put dimensionals, and I'm just going to take dimensionals, going to kind of roughly position it in the middle and get my dimensionals in place. So I just put 4 dimensionals. We only want to adhere this piece to the belly band, so we will just roughly align that so it's even top to bottom and side to side. There we go. Okay, that is the front of our card with the exception of the sentiment, but let's get the inside of the card. So I've got a piece of basic white cardstock, and I just cut, this is one of the leftover pieces of designer series paper, and I've cut it 1/2 inch by 5 1/4. And my basic white was 4 inches by 5 1/4. So we're just going to adhere that to that inside piece And now this can be glued down. Like that. Okay, there we go. Inside of a card done. Belly band done. Now let's get the sentiment on, and then we can put some embellishment on. So this sentiment just calls for being cut into pieces to me. You don't have to do this. You could just take and put it right across. You could put it right across here, but I didn't want to cover up my fern. So I decided to cut this into 3 words. And then we're going to use, I'm just going to use mini dimensionals to attach these words. Again, you can just keep it all in one and attach it wherever you want. But I love this fern. Okay, so I'm just going to take, so I'm going to try and not cover up and keep most of the fern. Just haven't pressed that into place because I think I need to put the thanks down first so that I've got room. Like that. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change my mind here. I'm going to put that down here. Thanks for, and I'll put the 4 right there. So we've got thanks for everything. And then the last thing I need is some embellishments. So these are the sequence trio. Comes in pretty peacock white and kind of a, maybe it's berry burst. So I'm going to use the white ones and just put one there and then a couple down here. Now you're not going to see these unless you see they don't show up really a lot, but it's just subtle. And since my card is kind of subtle, I thought it would work well. Now, as I look at this card, I think with a different sentiment, it would make a great sympathy card. Sympathy cards are always hard to do, and so this one I think would make a nice sympathy card. It's just kind of simple and not kind of over the top, which I think is important for sympathy cards. So there we go. That's my card for the Pick 3 mystery. Again, I've used a Fun Fold Designer Series paper and a thank you. And if you include the foliage green and sequence, I've actually used six things, but that wasn't what I was really intending to do when I started out with this card. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. I won't be back live until next Tuesday. So I hope you'll join me on Saturday and again on Sunday, where I will have the pre-recorded videos for you. All right, everybody, thanks so much for joining me. Hope you have a great day. Happy stamping.